Tonight, we're getting new insight into one publishing company's decision to publish a book whose author became controversial after the deadly Capitol riot.
Republican Senator Josh Hawley has faced swift backlash over accusations that his actions helped encourage the violent mob at the Capitol. Eventually, Simon & Schuster dropped his book called The Tyranny of Big Tech, which was due out this spring. Simon & Schuster's official statement reads in part, quote, "We did not come to this decision lightly. As a publisher, it will always be our mission to amplify a variety of voices and viewpoints. At the same time, we take seriously our larger public responsibility as citizens and cannot support Senator Hawley after his role in what became a dangerous threat to our democracy and freedom," end quote.
Tonight, I talked with Thomas Spence, president and publisher of Regnery Publishing, about his company's decision to take on that book.
I followed the events at the Capitol on January 6th, like everybody else, and I was aware that Senator Hawley was one of the senators, along with Senator Cruz, who's also one of our authors, who were objecting to the certification of the vote. As far as I was aware, they had nothing to do with the mob that assaulted the Capitol. And so the next day, Simon & Schuster announced that they were canceling Senator Hawley's book. They issued a statement that was vague, and I assume intentionally vague, suggesting, though, that Senator Hawley bore some responsibility for the attack on the Capitol, which did not seem to be the case to me. And so my colleagues and I thought that this book would make a lot of sense for us. We think that the book will probably do very well.
What do you say to people who do believe that Hawley did incite violence at the Capitol in his rhetoric and his messaging leading up to the vote on January 6th?
I don't have an argument with anybody on that. I mean, people can interpret the facts for themselves. And whether it's Senator Hawley or the president, a lot of people think that there was some over-the-top rhetoric. Now, in my view, over-the-top rhetoric is unfortunate. I try to avoid it, but it is a daily reality in American politics. And if you're going to apply that standard to the things that Senator Hawley said before the attack, then a lot of other people are going to start losing their book contracts.
There are reports of an open letter signed by hundreds of editors, writers, and agents opposing the publication of a potential Trump memoir. Would you publish a President Trump memoir?
The president has not come knocking at my door yet, so it's just theoretical.
But if he did?
We would be open to it, absolutely, yeah. Would I publish anything that Donald Trump decides to write? No, not necessarily. I wouldn't publish anything that anybody decides to write. But I think, yeah, and I mean, there are questions, is that something that we could afford? Whatever, but I wouldn't rule it out.
My final question for you, there is quite a bit of noise around the idea of a cancel culture. And I think those of us in the media, those of us in politics, people in the general public ought to be doing a lot of self-reflection right now in how we get to a place of unity, a word that we continue to hear over and over again. I'm wondering your role in the publishing universe, what concerns you have about your influence and those of your colleagues in the publishing world when it comes to the First Amendment, free speech, and also just the role that you play in the dialogue moving forward.
Yeah, I would say, the First Amendment applies to the government, right? The government cannot censor your speech. A private publishing house has the right to publish what it wants to. And in that respect, I have no quarrel with Simon & Schuster's deciding not to publish Senator Hawley's book. There may be some contractual questions, but that's a different matter. But in general, I would say the cancel culture is far more prevalent on the left than it is on the right. At least, that's my experience. The conservative publishing houses are, it's a struggle, right? It's always been a struggle. Publishing is a struggle. But the cancel culture, saying that so-and-so need not apply because of his political party or his philosophy, whatever, that's happening elsewhere. I see our role as a conservative publisher. I think we have a responsibility to publish very good books and that will speak for themselves. I think Senator Hawley's book is one of those. But we need to set the standard, and when people call it hate speech or whatever else, we will ignore that. So we're going to publish intelligent, important books, and that will say what needs to be said.
Thank you for that. And when those books come to print, give us a buzz. We'll have you back on.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Tom Spence, appreciate your time.